But first up tonight, we know mainland Australia is now wall-to-wall Labor governments. Federal Labor has been in power now for just over a year. There are established Labor premiers in Queensland and Victoria, a brand new Labor premier in WA, and the relatively new New South Wales Premier Chris Minns in power in New South Wales. The only Liberal still holding on is the Tasmanian Premier. Now, this makes for a very one-sided political debate in our country, which is not healthy, I don't think, for our democracy. A recent example I can give you. We're told today that Canberra, in trouble with their voice referendum, is now expecting to use the popularity of those Labor premiers to push the Yes campaign to the referendum. Now, I expect that will mean state Labor-led funded campaigns, photo opportunities, carefully media managed, featuring Anastasia and Daniel and Peter Malinauskas from South Australia. You can't blame Labor for using their inbuilt strengths to rescue the voice. But it is in other areas of policy that this lopsided 2023 version of politics in Australia is causing me some concern. Unions are already flexing their muscles in newly legislated workplace reforms, same work, same pay, multi-employer bargaining that came into force today, things like aged care and early childhood workers lining up and demanding pay rises, some of them as high as 25%. Now, most of these state governments, with the exception of WA and Queensland, the mining states, are broke, with Victorian taxpayers forking out $10 million a day just to pay off the interest on loans of borrowed money to build impossibly expensive and, in many cases, late and over-budget vanity projects. It must be said, dysfunctional state Liberal oppositions have in many cases only themselves to blame for this mess. Victorian Liberals like fighting each other rather than taking on Dan Andrews because it's easier. Another example of the arrogance of the Victorian Premier came today with an announcement that the Victorian government will, from July 1, cancel all government advertising in Melbourne's major daily newspapers. The Herald Sun, where I write a column, a paper owned by News Corp, Sky's owners, and the Age newspaper. The reason? Well, the Premier's office simply said, quote, the government is recalibrating and spending toward TV and digital channels instead. The real reason those two mastheads, the Herald Sun in particular, but also the Age, have been trenchant critics of the Andrews government and the Premier in particular. And you know what? He doesn't like it. Dan's got a glass jaw. He also has been dragged before anti-corruption commissions up to 4 times and has been reported, it must be said, no adverse findings to date. So it's not hard to see this ad-cancelling decision as payback. Ads such as promoting, say, safety, bushfire alerts, public health, recruit ads for police and nurses, all valid, they'll all now be gone. And given the reach of the paper, particularly the Herald Sun with its Saturday edition reaching 640,000 readers, and that's without its digital impact, there could be no business case to walk away. But, as usual, Premier Andrews brushes off any argument to the contrary. Have a listen.
Well, we're going to be advertising on your website still. So, you know, we make judgments about where the audience is, and we're not making any apology for focusing our efforts much more acutely on online, digital, television. That's where the audience is.
We go where the audience is, he says. Well, 640,000 readers on a Saturday is not bad. But as I said, Labor governments nationwide are drunk with power and they are bloated with arrogance. They believe they are above criticism, and if Victoria is anything to go by, they are prepared to punish anyone who dares call them out. So bad has this trashing of the traditional relationship between state governments and the media, like the Herald Sun reports late today, that Premier Andrews addressed a secretive dinner function in Melbourne last night where only Chinese media were permitted to attend, and today he wouldn't elaborate on what he actually said.
Well, there was a speech. I had some notes. I didn't necessarily refer to those in great detail, but I simply made the point that the China-Australia partnership and the China-Victoria partnership is critically important to jobs, to exports, to international education, to food, wine, to every sector really. No idea. Wasn't my event. I was there. The Lord Mayor was there. Andrew Robb was there. Hob 300 people were there. Some of them from China, some of them who are from here and do business in China.
The smugness is breathtaking, really.